What's up, Cardinals fans? Wanted to hop on here with a quick update. As earlier Monday, MLB released the first voting update for the All-Star Game 2024. It's coming up Tuesday, July 16th in Arlington, Texas. And the voting is out for that first round. They're doing it a little bit differently than they used to, and I think it's been this way for the last couple of years. But they go in Phase 1 and Phase 2 on the voting. And you have to be in the top two vote getters at your respective position in order to advance to Phase 2. And this is coming up pretty quickly. I think next Monday they'll release another update, and then Thursday, the 27th of June, will be the cutoff for Phase 1. And as of right now, it does not look like the Cardinals are long for this competition, long for the vote, because if you look at the update sent out by MLB on Monday, there are no Cardinals that rank among the top two vote getters at their respective positions. In fact, there are no Cardinals ranking inside the top three, and the one that is the closest at his position is a guy who hasn't played for the Cardinals in more than a month. Talking about catcher Wilson Contreras, who landed number 4 in the NL catcher rankings, according to this first update. He's got 149,315 votes. The top three are way ahead of him. Will Smith of the Dodgers, 557,000 votes. That's 400,000 more than Wilson. And then the top two, now remember, these are the two that you get the spots to advance to the second phase of voting if you're in the top two after June 27th when the voting concludes. JT Realmuto is at 558,000. William Contreras, Wilson's brother on the Brewers, is at 746,000 and change. So that's the Cardinals' top finisher as of right now. And finisher is the wrong word to use because it's not over. But the Cardinals are a far cry from having really anybody involved. I want to see who's actually logistically the closest based on vote total to being able to crack their way into a top two at any position. Paul Goldschmidt is 8th with just over 71,000 votes. Freddie Freeman in second at first base with over 700,000 votes. That's not happening. Second base, Nolan Gorman is in 7th with 125K. He's about 475K off the pace of Ketel Marte, who is second in the position. It kind of looks like this all the way down. Arenado may be the one with the best chance voting-wise because he's at 174,000, and second place at the third base spot is Manny Machado at 267,000. But Alec Boehm is going to end up being the representative if Philly fans keep voting for him the way that they have so far. He is over 1 million votes, one of only a few players that can claim that at this point in the National League voting. Mookie Betts is unfortunate at shortstop. He was over 1 million votes as well, but of course broke a bone over the weekend, hit by pitch, so that's a tough blow to the Dodgers. And it's not that Mason Wynn is necessarily positioned to be able to take advantage there. He's at 90,000 votes in 8th place among NL shortstops, and second place is Trey Turner at 509,000. So it's looking a little bleak at this point for Cardinal representatives. Alec Burleson is 10th among designated hitters, not even close. And 20 outfielders were listed because there are 3 outfield positions. So it's actually the top 6 outfielders that will advance to the second round of voting. And there are no Cardinals listed among the top 20 outfielders. And that's not even really a surprise because no Cardinal outfielders have performed well. This is always an annual discussion as to whether it's incumbent upon a fan base to just vote for your guys or should you vote for the best in the league. And maybe this is a spot where, you know, the Cardinals fans have that reputation of being knowledgeable and having a good sense for what's going on in the league. And are you a Cardinal fan out there that does take the time to vote in these things, but you don't just vote the party lines? You don't just vote all Cardinals? Because I think that might be part of this. And the other part is just the fact that other fan bases aren't voting Cardinals because you don't see them among the league leaders at any of the statistical categories with where the Cardinals are right now. They don't have any players outside of Contreras, who I think if Wilson hadn't gotten hurt and continued to play and hit the way that he had, he would probably be right in the mix at the top of the catcher position. But there's no other Cardinal that's even really deserving outside of, I think you can lend some consideration to Mason Wynn, who has gotten better as the year has gone along. Started a little bit slow in terms of the OPS. He just didn't have much power at the beginning, but now he's really coming into his own, but not even 100,000 votes. So I'm curious, as a Cardinals fan, do you care about this every year? Is this something where if there was a player on your team that really was deserving, you would make an extra effort to vote? Or are you out there voting, but you're just voting for the players that you believe are deserving from across the league, even if it's not a Cardinal this time in 2024? It's interesting because I think if you look across the tallies here, there's one fan base that stands out as I think they're voting early, I think they're voting often, and I think they're voting mostly for their guys, and that's the Philadelphia Phillies. If this was a grade on who the best fans in baseball are that support their team the most, which I'm not saying that all-star voting is a referendum on that. I actually don't think that it is. I think more than anything, it speaks to social media and how much a fan base might be able to mobilize their group to get something accomplished, which how valuable is that really in the grand scheme of things? Maybe not that valuable. But if you look at the Phillies, man, Real Muto is in second at catcher. First base, Bryce Harper is leading the way as one of those million vote getters. At the second base position, Bryson Stott is third overall. Alec Boehm, as I mentioned, leading third baseman. You've got Trey Turner second place at shortstop. Designated hitter is third place, Kyle Schwarber. And there are multiple Philly outfielders right now among the top six. Brandon Marsh and Nick Castellanos falling in at number 5 and number 6, respectively. And even Johan Rojas is at 7th overall. And I just think that's an example maybe of Philly fans. It's a combination of things, right? Because regardless of their deservedness, I think Phillies fans are voting for their guys. But also they have one of the best offenses in the league, so they probably are somewhat deserving. The only one that I would say is full meme status would be Johan Rojas. No offense to the guy, but he's got a 235 average and he's slugging south of 300, though he does have 14 stolen bases. He would be one that I would say not even on the periphery of deserving, but everybody else on that Philly lineup probably has at least a case to be made. Maybe not Brandon Marsh. I'd have to check up on his stats to know whether he would be somebody that should be considered or not. And he's kind of had an okay season, 748 on the OPS, 6 homers, hitting 256. But largely it seems like Philly fans are just showing out. Cardinals fans historically have not in this voting. And I'm not saying that makes them a bad fan base. They maybe just value other things. Again, let me know if you are engaging at all in the vote. I remember back in the day, man, when it was always so fun to go to the ballpark and around the third or fourth inning or whatever it would be, they'd pass out the actual punch cards. Anybody else remember this? It didn't used to be online. Back when I was a kid, and again, I'm sounding like the old guy yells at cloud. I'm sure all you guys remember this because most folks are a little older than me and have been, Cardinals fans for longer than I've been around, some of y'all listening. But you'd go to the ballpark and you'd actually punch it out in your seat, and then I guess the ushers would come by to collect it a couple of innings later, and they would manually tabulate those votes, I guess, and they did it at every ballpark across America. It was kind of cool. I guess America and Toronto. I should be more inclusive than that, right? I always thought that was a blast as a kid going to the park, but I don't know that that's even something they do anymore. I sincerely doubt it. They probably over the course of time decided, it's a waste of paper. We don't need to do it this way when we can easily just do it online. But is that maybe something that, although it takes way more manpower to do it the old-fashioned way, they probably aren't getting as much engagement now? Or maybe it's a lot easier to engage because it's just probably a QR code away or clicking on your phone away from being able to participate. But I don't know, it's a little bit tedious for some people, and maybe it lacks the old school flair for the dramatic that it used to have when it was like you were walking into a voting booth almost and punching the holes through on the players that you thought were the most deserving. I don't know, maybe it's just something that people aren't as enthused by in St. Louis anymore the way it used to be, but let me know your thoughts. I think the other element of it could simply be, as I alluded earlier, there just aren't really many Cardinals deserving, and St. Louis fans tend to, as much as they love their guys, they're also not going to maybe go out of their way to vote for a guy that maybe isn't having that great of a season. So let me know your thoughts below, but I wanted to hop on with a quick recap of where things stand. And do you think there's any Cardinal that has a chance to make a charge? I'm going to say probably not with the way the voting is going so far. But it would be nice to see Cardinals fans get behind Mason Wynn. I may be too late to be able to do anything about it because he's still under 100,000 votes. But with Mookie Betts going out with injury, he's not going to be a representative. And it would be nice to see Mason Wynn as a rookie maybe have a chance to get to the All-Star game. And, of course, it is going to be the case where there will be a Cardinal representative that is selected. It just may not be through this fan voting process. The pitching staff is selected through other means. I believe there's a player balloting. I was reading through the release from MLB, the press release this afternoon, and to select the reserves and the pitching staff, which is like 23 players on both the AL and the NL sides through that process. The Cardinals are going to get some guys. I would say right now the top 3 candidates, number 1, Sonny Gray. 3.01 ERA. He's 8-4. I know he's fallen off the pace a little bit compared to what he did at the beginning of the season, but he's still got a 3 ERA and 8-4 record, which is pretty good. And he's tied for 7th among NL pitchers in strikeouts, despite the fact that he's thrown 2, maybe 3 fewer starts than a number of the guys ranked ahead of him. He's got 91 strikeouts in 68 or so innings. So he's done a nice job, could be considered. And then I think Ryan Helsley, although we've kind of talked about how he's going through it a little bit more recently and trying to find the command of that fastball, Ryan Helsley leads MLB in saves, and he's only blown 1 save. He's 24 for 25, and second place in the National League on that saves leaderboard is Kyle Finnegan of the Washington Nationals, and he's at 20. So Ryan Helsley probably goes into the All-Star selection period there in early July when the pitching staffs are chosen. He probably goes in as the NL leader in saves, barring something dramatic that happens between now and then. So with a 2.53 ERA, 36 strikeouts in 32 innings, I would say Ryan Helsley would be a candidate for selection. Remember, every team does get one guy selected to be represented, and so we'll see if that ends up being one of those 2 pitchers, maybe both. And then Mason Wynn, I think certainly once it comes to the selection of the reserves, and that process is a little bit more fluid in terms of, okay, there's going to be some guys that opt out. There's going to be some guys with injury. Could Mason Wynn then slide in toward the tail end of this thing? That would be a cool experience for him, and I think good for baseball because he is the type of guy that you should want if you're MLB, to be front and center and to be the face of something, to be the face of the Cardinals and maybe a face across MLB with the young Mason Wynn certainly on the rise in his career. Let me know, which Cardinals do you think are deserving, if any, of reaching an all-star game this year, and who will you be voting for, or who are you hoping to see get there, even if maybe not the most deserving, but you'd just like to see this player end up in the all-star game. Maybe a case for JoJo Romero too, but you just don't usually see non-closing relief pitchers get selected. But that's going to do it for this quick video. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more Cardinals content every single day throughout the season. And hey, even into the offseason, that's what we do here on the Brenden Schaeffer St. Louis Cardinals Writer YouTube channel. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.